Good afternoon, everybody. Today we have Ms. Bhavya Misra with us. She's a CHRO of Lenovo India. Bhavya, we welcome you on board with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sugan, for having me. It's totally my pleasure.
Let's begin this another episode of HR Voices. This time we'll be discussing on the future of HR functions with HR technology. Bhavya, just to introduce the topic and to give a brief backdrop of what we'll be talking throughout this conversation, I'll give a small brief on it. So, I feel a variety of HR technologies are assisting professionals today to manage new conditions in the post pandemic world. Self service technology specifically can help employees access and manage their personal information, and tech is also helping them allow leadership to communicate news about changes in different plans, health plans, coverage, company holidays, etc. The many different aspects to it. The expansion of HR capabilities remain a significant focus of growth for businesses, salary negotiations, conflict mediation, and strategy set settings as well. Now, in the time post COVID, ramping up the use of HR tech can also help automate much of the work involved with new hiring, trainings, time tracking, punching in, punch out system. So now we need to understand from you, as in your views, as to how challenging does tech enablement get for an HR professional in terms of resistance to change?
I think that's a very important aspect, Sugan, that you're bringing up, of the topic, which is uh, resistance to change. And I think, it's obvious that anything, if it's going to change, there will be views on it, right? And I think even before we get to that, I would want to actually take a step back and say that how is it that we can address, this whole resistance if at all it comes up, right, with various stakeholders. I think very important to look at the whole process holistically. Very often, when I talk to people, I see that we kind of jump to the middle of it saying that, okay, what's the technology available or what are other organizations doing? What's the shiny new toy in the market right now? Right? I think more than that, I think a lot of resistance can be pre-addressed if we go one step back from there, which is that what's your organization's need? What is it that you are looking for? Because I personally believe that organizations are fairly unique creatures, in themselves. How your culture is, how your leadership is, what's your state of business, how is it that you're looking at the future? All of that impact how your workforce is, how are people behaving, what is it that they're expecting, and hence, what's your need? I think that needs to be the focus when you're looking for any kind of HR technology. Because once you make that investment, it is an investment that you've committed yourself to, and then post that you're just trying to justify, and it doesn't work like that. So
And
the
it's a very
first thing
strategic, investment.
Exactly. Very strategic and also significant investment for a period of time. So you don't want to be justifying it later in terms of why you choose what you choose.
Exactly.
Very important to double underline what is the need, really introspect, understand, and only then go for, what is it that you really need in your organization. Then comes, okay, what is available? Does that serve your purpose or not? Do you need to create something? Does it need some tweaking or does it need to be created from scratch? Whatever it is, you do that. And then the third part of it is how you kind of seed that technology that you're trying to get into the organization in terms of what's in it for the managers, what's in it for the leadership teams, what is in it for the HR teams or any of the other functional teams, right? And I think if we follow through that process in a little more academic way, in terms of actually going through each of those things, it helps much more address the resistance if at all it arises, right? Because you know why you're doing something, and
Right.
there is a certain uh, there is a certain requirement for that technology in your organization. There are processes which are going to improve, and there is a benefit that certain stakeholders are going to see out of it.
Of
And I
course.
think that would be the way to address resistance, if at all, if you face it in your organization.
Bhavya, do you feel that with the enablement of technology in the HR space, the usage of manual intervention is going to decrease?
It's a very interesting question, and I think an often debated one, in fact. But I don't think so. My actually view is that there's always going to be requirement of great HR professionals as well as great HR interventions per se, right? The only thing is that the nature of it will change, and I think it will change, and it is changing, in fact, for the better. What do I mean by that when I say it? What I mean is that, see, as soon as you bring in technology, it's not like technology is going to take the decision for you. Yes, there is more information. Yes, there are more insights. There's more data. Probably there are more touch points. And you have just more information, right? But how are you going to use all of it? What sense does it make for your business? What is it that you're really taking out of it, right? So through visioning from there, decision making from there, still a leadership task and the actual partnering with the business, right, is still something that you need to do. So I think technology, as well as touch, right, both of them are very, very critical and have to work hand in hand. I think technology is really important to bring in at the right points in time.
It's like a symbiotic relationship.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. So, Bhavya, what do you think are the key HR functions which have been impacted due to the incorporation of tech? Specific, let's talk at Lenovo.
I think all of them, Sugandh. I don't think there's anything that is devoid of technology today, and specifically at Lenovo as well, and then in general in the market also, right? If I start with the employee life cycle itself, right? Let's start with recruitment. I think, and again, the last 2 years with COVID, everybody has kind of seen technology be far more deeply intertwined with everything that we do at work, including HR, right? Than ever before. If I look at recruitment, there were so many positions that we used to think that, oh, face to face is very important, we have to do it, we have to make the candidate travel. All of that just went away, right? Because you did not have the option. So you came up with different tools, different innovative tools, which made you feel like the candidate is just sitting in front of you and you're talking to the person, right? As you would in a coffee shop or otherwise, even if it was senior hires. And even one step before that, right? Just the process of recruitment itself, which is looking for candidates, etc. All of that is completely online today, right? And then selection as well. How you assessing the candidates? What are the different data points? That the hiring managers get in their hands today, right? Whether it's psychometric, whether it's any of the online assessments. What is it that you're exposing the candidate to even before they meet anyone in your organization? All of your post that background verification, everything. I think everything has a role that technology has taken up in each of these processes. And then even as people come in, right, using tools like Amber, with which you measure, engagement, touch base with people much more than you can, in face-to-face manner, get to know how they are doing. Also look at data and analytics from there deeply to see, what's the cohort of people who's engaged, not engaged, what are the interventions that are working, not working, what's the right kind of tenure for people in certain kind of roles. There's just so much, available from a data and insights perspective that you can leverage for your decision making. Even capability, I think, that's another area that's drastically changed, with and we were forced initially, I would say, because of COVID. But I think, it's a change that's there to stay. From 2 day long training programs where everybody met face to face, I think bite-sized modules is what's going to work for everybody in the future. Nobody has the patience, or the time to sit through long programs and just go through hours and hours of things. I mean, people want everything at their fingertips. They want to be certified, but they don't want, to go through it in a really long, boring, old world kind of way. I mean, are there shorter things that you can give me? Are there quizzes? Are there different ways of doing things? Is that Can you enable it through AI, which means that what you're teaching me also varies with how much I know. And I think some of this we very actively use in Lenovo. We've got this entire library, of resources, which is called Grow at Lenovo, and it's pretty much universal. Like everybody across the globe, wherever you are, can access it, make your own learning paths, see what are your areas of interest, build capability there. So I think capability is another thing that's changed hugely. I think pretty much every part, of the value chain from an employee standpoint.
Has there been any negative impact as well?
I wouldn't think there has been any negative impact. I think it's more initially, when most organizations are forced, at least during COVID, right, were pushed to use some of these technologies. Initially, people would have the apprehension, I would say, of saying that, would it impact any of
Exactly.
my deliverables? Will I really be able to build capability like this? Or supposing if I have a question, will the chatbot? We very actively use also chatbots to
Right.
answer employee queries, etc., etc. So, will it really be able to help me end to end? But I think over a period of time, as you stick, with the right technologies that you've selected for your organization, as you kind of continue to ensure that they're executed well and are owned by leaders and managers, I think people do realize that there is merit and it does help you. If 1 o'clock at night you do need help on something, and you know how our working lives have become. It's not necessary that you're working from 9 to 6 when you can
Exactly.
actually get active help. You could be working at 1 o'clock at night. As an example, I have a
Like
4-year-old
anywhere,
daughter.
anytime work now.
No, and also Sugandh, like I'll tell you, it's also convenience, right? I have a very young daughter, and sometimes during the day I'd like to spend time with her, but I'm okay, to log in much later at night when she's sleeping. Now, at that time, if there's some help that I need, if there's some, policy that I need access to, if there's some support that I need, obviously I'm not expecting anybody else to be there up at that time, right? But if I
Correct.
do have an active chatbot who's there 24/7, I can always get my question answered in 5 minutes.
Right.
So it also helps from a convenience perspective and also to stay connected much more than one could if you're just dependent on face to face. Otherwise, I'll write an email and I'll say, oh, but the person is going to come online tomorrow at 9
Exactly.
a.m. and then. So I think I wouldn't say that negative, but I'd say that there would obviously always be apprehensions, but we have to be patient and work through the benefits to actually make people realize where it works and why it works for you.
No, and it's important also because with the tech intervention, we do realize that there'll be lot many processes that will be seamlessly done. While you very rightly pointed out convenience as a very strong point, because yes, while women or men, if they're working from home and they have different responsibilities to cater to, and then any time of work is suitable to them, of course they need some other help at that point in time to continue doing the work should so that the flow shouldn't get hampered, right?
Absolutely.
Now, according to you, how does an organization embark on implementation of any of the novel technology and how is the ROI mapped? It's very important output for any organization.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think any kind of financial investment ROI is very critical, and not just from a financial perspective, but also return on effort. I think that's also a very important part of the
Right.
equation, not just investment. And I think some of this I tried to address in the first part, Sugandha. I would still say that we don't pay that much attention to introspection and reflection on what's the need. And I really feel like that's the most important step, in any technology that you want to integrate with your organization. The first step is the most important one, which is that do you really know what do you want? Because in today's time, technology can be built, technology can answer if you have a clear question, but if you're not sure of what you're looking for, you will always go for, okay, what are other organizations doing, what is the new launch, what's happening in this space. Yes, that's very important. I'm not taking away from the importance of research, in terms of what's already there, but does that fit into the DNA of your organization and what you need at this time? I think that step for me, if I had to rank, is the most critical one in terms of implementing any technology intervention. Because if you're not clear, you will only have partners and vendors sell you what they have. And I'm not saying what they have is not great. It's really amazing. And there's a lot of stuff in the market which is absolutely mind blowing as far as technology is concerned.
Mhm.
But is your organization ready for that? And is it that you need, or there's something else? I think that question is very important for me. Then comes, okay, I mean, let's look at research. Let's see, what are the products that are available in the market. And again, there, I think we have to be very clear about what part of that tech product works for you, what part doesn't work for you, and if there's any kind of customization that you need to do. I think it's very important to be very transparent and open with the partner that you're going with the product that you're going with, in terms of listing down all your apprehensions and saying, okay, I think this part will work, this part part needs tweaking. This is how we're structured. This is how I would like to look at the data. These are the kind of reports, insights. This is the way it should be working. This is the frequency, etc., etc. So I feel like it's not a process that is an off-the-shelf process where you go and you pick up a dress and in the evening you can wear it and go out. It doesn't work like that. It's a process that you have to invest time in, and which is why I said it's not just about return on investment, but it is also return on effort. That you have to be clear it's going to take all of this effort, and then is it
Exactly.
worth it? The last part of it, Sugandh, again, is about, are you, if you're really committed to it, are you going to go all the way to make it happen? Because for sure in the initial phases, right, there will be resistance. There will be people who are not that technology pro, let's say, right, will always get the feeling like, is it the right thing? But we used to do this and it was much better. Oh, but talking to a person is so much better. But this one doesn't. Now, do you have the patience to actually be able to address concerns that
Right.
people will raise? Are you going to identify the right set of people who can be your representatives, who can be your ambassadors, and who can talk about what's working well? Can you showcase a few early wins, to say that, look, this is how it's helped? These are the examples. Can you reward a few people who are using it well? So all of these things will help you establish it, because like I said, once you've made the commitment, you've kind of, made the commitment both at an investment level, effort, everything. So you've got to make it successful. How is it that you're using the information data to kind of become the daily language? If I were to put it like that, I think all of those aspects are very important. Apart from just choosing the right product, which of course is very important.
But do you think that, while you're making investment into any technology, there are pros and cons attached to it, right? It might give you fruitful results, but it'll also have some, that I think that's called the other side of a coin. So are you also making this decision in such a calculative manner that, the drawbacks do not impact the workflow of the organization?
Like you rightly said, I think every decision has some pros and cons, right? So, supposing we take something like, let's take an example, like an employee engagement chatbot, right? Or who reaches out
Right.
to employees and says, okay, how are you feeling? What's happening? What's working for you? What's not working for you? Now, obviously, the benefit is that, as a face-to-face HR partner, you may not be able to touch base with so many employees at the same point in time, get all the right data, etc., etc. But the downside could also be that, is it really personal? Will the person actually answer? And if it's just a chatbot, you don't know if you're really bringing out the truth or not. And at an aggregate level, does it really work for me, etc. So all of those concerns are, of course, there, right? And but having said that, I think we have to look at technology for what it can do, not for the part of what it can't do. So are we saying that, a chatbot like this, just as an example, will it replace an HR partner? Not at all. But will it give
Yeah.
you more information than what you had in the past? Yes.
And
So
it
you
will also help the process of an HR manager who's already running the process. It's
exactly.
actually an additional help.
Exactly. So what you look at technology for is that, is it giving me a better situation than what I was in before, right? Don't think that you bring in some technology and it's going to change my life forever and people are not required. Not at all. I think nothing could be farther from the truth. We have to look at what is the right partnership, like I said, between tech as well as touch, especially in an HR context, right? You can have all the data in the world, but how are you using it? How are you leveraging it? So look at the positive sides of what it is actually giving you, which you did not have earlier at all. Right? And then how do you leverage that to make your job richer? In fact, I would go a step further and say that, it really challenges you as an HR person, because everything that was transactional, everything that was operational, everything that was very easy to do in a way, right, is already being done. So how will you add value now? That is the question for you. And I think it pushes you to do much better and much deeper work in whichever area you're in. I mean, obviously, we're talking about HR, but even if I look at any of the other areas of business,
Right.
it would be the same. That, once all the basics are done, once all the Excel sheets are done, all the basic information data is in one place, right? What is the value that you're going to add?
No, that's actually a very important question to actually ponder on the people who are hearing as well. There's certain, I feel, check marks that need to be made even while you're deploying technology. There should be certain aspects to be kept in mind that, one, it is meeting all these 4 5 needs, but I will also have to cater to the challenges that it will bring, because tech also brings in their own challenges as well. When it comes to usage, it comes to the limit of usage, how much to use. Is it vanishing away the usage of human intervention or not? So yeah, that also needs to be controlled by the organization. Now, in the areas where results are tangible, like happiness and well being, how is the utility and usability of technology justified? We rightly concluded in the previous discussion as well that there needs to be a full stop on how to use and where to use. There needs to be a stencil, a framework of using the tech. Now, according to you, how is the utility and usability of the tech justified, and how should it be framed?
You mean in non-tangible areas, like
Exactly.
well-being or happiness?
Exactly.
I think let's take well-being as an area, right? Because it's a very oft talked about topic in these days, very important for
Right.
most corporations, and very rightly so as well, right? Let's look at well-being now. What can technology help you with, and what it can't, right? Let's look at that as an area to deep dive into. If I look at well-being, right? Technology can give me all of the information about what are the challenges that my people are facing, right? Whether it's in terms of mental well-being, physical well-being, I can get all of that information with technology, saying that, okay, here is the full footprint of your employee population, right, with various kinds of data cards, insights, blah 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 blah. I think again I'll go back and say that what do you do with that? How do you address it? Technology is not so a solution. You will say that, okay, because this is what your people are. There may be suggestions actually. If you look at, there could be suggestions, solutions saying that, okay, if this is what people are facing, here are some plausible reasons and hence solutions. But the actual decision on that is still on you, in terms of if your ways of working are not working with people, if work hours are too much, if the way work is structured, if the way the organization is built are challenges, if processes are running in a very cumbersome way, if people are having to do a lot of manual work, right? The changes that you need to bring, the transformation in your organization to address the challenge of well-being, if that is a challenge, is still a responsibility with the leadership. So technology is not going to become a leader and take the decision, build a vision,
Right.
and actually address the challenge. Technology is going to give you the platform to be able to address. Right.
Exactly.
So tomorrow, if you say that, okay, we feel that in our organization there are too many unnecessary levels of approvals. Probably people are spending too much mind space, time just to get these approvals, and it's really kind of impacting people. Now you can get data again. You'll put a team and you'll say, okay, where are the issues? Can we find out what all these issues are? But to finally have the guts to take the decision and say, okay, let me cut the level of approval. Don't come to me. Somebody else is going to do it, and this is what works. Governance is also okay, etc. All of that you still have to do. You cannot delegate back to technology. So the role of leadership, I feel, becomes far stronger, becomes far more important, because now you don't have any excuse. You have all the information, all the data, all the analysis, everything is there with you. Right? What do you do with that? And again, I'll say the same thing. That is the question, right? How are you making a difference when you come and see all of that information? And I think which is what also differentiates leader. Sugandh as a leader may look at the same data points, same information, and take a very different decision from what a Bhavya would. So we bring our personal selves then to decision making. To say that, okay, what am I going to put my name to and say, I want to do this, basis all of this.
Arya, with technology being used in all HR functions today, what does the future of HR look like? Is it like complete intervention of tech in HR, or is it still in a divided world wherein HRs will actually, or the management will take a call in which segment do we need tech deployment in order to smoothen or fasten the process or ease the process? Or is it that, HR is, the new level of HR is the deployment of technology all over?
Fair. I think there'll always be organizations at all levels of technology. So I wouldn't say that, suddenly tomorrow all organizations will be highly tech enabled as far as HR is concerned. I think that would be a little premature and also naive to say that's not going to
Understatement,
happen.
yeah.
I think organizations will be at different phases and stages. But to your earlier question, I would definitely say that I see the future of HR is extremely positive and very interesting. And I'll tell you why. Because I personally strongly believe that everything, okay, everything that can be automated, everything that can be done with technology at some point in time will be done, even if it's not done today, right? Which then basically makes my job as an HR person far deeper and far more interesting and puts much more out of the comfort zone. It's always very easy, to put together data, to put together slides, to put together analysis of things, etc., etc., or to answer questions of people that they're coming up with. I think the other part of the job, which is truly partnering with business, understanding, what the business strategy is, and hence what your people strategy is. Because it's an often used cliche, right? Talent is your biggest asset, etc., etc. But you are the person who kind of represents that cliche on, the leadership team. How do you bring it to life? How is it that your talent strategy is actually enabling business strategy? That is a question that you have to answer. And I think that's what makes the HR job very interesting in the future, because everything that is operational, transactional, database, everything, you don't have to bother about all of that. You can assume that that's being taken care of. So your core role, which is truly bringing out the best in people, is what you need to address and impact on.
All right, Bhavya, I feel it was a very informative session between us because we had the points in mind what we actually wanted to convey to people. Quick five takeaways from our discussion. What would that be?
Interesting. So, I think the way I would summarize is, like I said, don't run after the shiny new technology in the market or what others are doing. Introspect, reflect on what is it that your organization really requires at this stage. Go after that, and then also work hard. If it needs tweaking, if it needs some changes, be honest with the partner that you're working with in terms of what you see will work or not work. The other thing I'd say is that be patient with whatever you've got on board. Be patient
Patience is
with working
virtue.
through it. Right? Addressing all the issues, snags, everything that comes up, the resistance that you're seeing. Understand, hear people on why they feel that it's not working and try to address that proactively with them. I think very important. The second one that I would say is very critical is reflect on your own roles as HR people. Very
Exactly.
important again to think about, what's your value add? Do you really understand what the business strategy is? How is it that you're contributing? And I think that will become more and more important as more technology, gets into our area of work in the future. So those are a few things I would like to take away.
Thank you so much, Bhavya. It was indeed a very knowledgeable and insightful session. I believe the people who hearing it would surely have taken lots and lots of new info as well as ideas on how to actually deploy technology into any organization and actually think through in which segment do they want. It's not just, as you rightly said, do not run away, run behind the, shiny tech. The usage needs to be pretty clear on why do you need to deploy that particular technology and what impact will it lay, of course, in terms of ROI. But thank you so much, Bhavya. It was a pleasure, speaking with you, and we're very grateful that you took out time for this session and giving out all your insights.
Thank you so much, Sugandh. The pleasure was all mine. I think it was a great interaction and I think very interesting questions. I hope the listeners also find value in it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Bhavya.
Thanks.